Today on How to Drink, we're going to make caffeinated cocktails, all kinds of caffeinated cocktails, as Miss Kate Moss would say, for when you want to wake up and get fucked up. We're going to bleep that, because you can't put that kind of word in the beginning of the episode. Today on How to Drink. There's no reason to beat around the bush. We're going to get right into it and start making caffeinated cocktails. So if you're thinking about caffeinated cocktails, you're probably only thinking about the Espresso Martini. Maybe you're thinking also about the Irish coffee, right? But apparently there's like a whole world of caffeinated cocktails, and I want to explore it. I want to present those drinks to you. And I think most of these drinks are drinks you're going to find elsewhere if you really want, but here they are in one convenient place. So let's start right off with Jeffrey Morgenthaler's take on the Espresso Martini. This is a drink that was originally invented by Dick Bradsell. I don't know if it's Bradsell or Bradsell. I'm not of a UK persuasion, so I can't quite nail that exactly right, I'm sure. Apparently, allegedly, because Kate Moss in the 80s ordered a drink that would wake her up while fucking her up. And so he invented the Espresso Martini. I feel like there might be a little bit of poetic license in that tale, but all the same, let's make the drink today as Jeff Morgenthaler kind of reinvented it. Here's a hitch. Jeff Morgenthaler's recipe calls for an ingredient he makes called cold brew concentrate, which is essentially a pound of coarse coffee with 2 quarts of water left to sit for 24 hours. I actually don't, my mustache is growing up my nose holes. One, I've never made cold brew, but I don't know that that's actually any different than the way you would normally make cold brew, except for maybe the amount of water to coffee ratio. 2, decided on this episode with less than 24 hours to shooting time, and therefore I don't have that ingredient. Instead, I have Chobani's Cold Brew Pure Black, and it is just coffee. It's just cold brew coffee. One thing about cold brew versus espresso, and I want to point this out, espresso is actually not the most caffeinated form of coffee. Espresso does not mean espresso, like puts you into express mode. It means espresso. It means it's made with pressure. It has to do with the amount of pressure that the water is under when it does the infusion. Cold brew is going to have, I think, scientifically, the highest level of caffeine of any coffee, just because my understanding here is that caffeine extraction from the beans has a lot to do with how long those beans stay in the water. And when you make cold brew, you pretty much always let it sit overnight as far as I know, and that's a long time. So we're gonna make this drink. Let's start with 3/4 of an ounce of Kahlua. I need 3/4 of an ounce of 100 proof Stoli, 1 ounce of our cold brew concentrate. In this case, Chobani cold brew. I'm going a little off memory here, but I'm pretty sure Jeff Morgenthaler calls for putting a little lemon peel in the shaker. And I think that it makes sense because if you do a twist of lemon over the top of this, you would probably destroy what we hope to develop as a nice and frothy head. 1 cube. This drink traditionally gets a garnish of like 3 coffee beans floating in its foam. There we have an Espresso Martini, more or less as Jeff Morgenthaler would tell you to make it. Jeff, man, that's fantastic. The lemon, I hope I was right in throwing that in there. The lemon with the coffee is so good. What a wonderfully elevated drink. It is a little sweet, but it's a comfort food drink, right? Like it's an Espresso Martini. Most people want their coffee to be a little sweet. I drink my coffee black, but most people like a little sugar in their coffee. This is just perfectly balanced, perfectly presented. Well, maybe my presentation leaves a little bit to be desired. Boy, is it good. You get the coffee, you get this like lemon that offsets it. There's a sweetness to it. Obviously it is alcoholic. I mean, it's hitting all the marks as far as I'm concerned. Now, Meredith, what do you think?
I love that. I love an Espresso Martini. I think like the bitterness of the coffee and the sweetness, it edges on a dessert drink, but it's not.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next drink. I just want to point out this glass was provided by Whiskey. Whiskey asked me, hey, can we be a sponsor of the show? I said, let's see the glassware. They sent it over. I said, this is beautiful glassware. I will happily use this on my show. Let's do it. Now they're a sponsor. They're a sponsor of the show. So if you like this glass or any of the other glassware that's going to show up in this episode, it might be one that's not from them. Check out the link up here in the corner. Check out the link in the pin comment below. Use code HowToDrink15 at checkout, and you're going to get 15% off of your order. So Whiskey Glassware, thank you for sponsoring the show. We're going to move it on to something that I don't want to spend too much time on. We have to address it. the Jager Bomb and the Red Bull Vodka. Basically the same drink. One has Jagermeister, one has Red Bull, and one has vodka in it. Obviously this drink is caffeinated and mightily caffeinated. You know what it is. It's a glass of Red Bull with a shot glass of Jagermeister dropped into it. There was a time in my life when I used to hang out at a goth club in Philadelphia called Shampoo. Actually, the event was called Nocturne. And my drink of choice then was a Jager and Red Bull, but not a bomb that I would sip on, that I would enjoy. Because I was a demented young man. I was sick. There was something wrong with me. There was a darkness in my heart.
I'm the Prince of Sorrow. Woo! Shut up, you're supposed to be dead.
Meredith, do you want to do lunch? I'm ready to eat. Are you ready to eat?
I'm very ready to
Let's eat this food. Thankfully, Factor is a sponsor of this show. So thank you, Factor, for giving us the lunch that we want to munch so much. All right, Meredith, what are we going to eat today? I've got 2 meals here. I got, what is this one? This one's jalapeno lime cheddar chicken, spicy cauliflower rice. Do you want that one, or do you want the sun-dried tomato Alfredo cauliflower gratin? Oh, my.
Oh, my. No, we might be fighting over these.
Yeah, that's both sound good. All right, we're going to slide my meals into the oven here for a period of about 7 minutes. You know, Meredith and I, we don't get out of this here studio very much. It is awesome for us that Factor will deliver these ready-to-eat meals directly to the door of the studio. Fantastic. Thank you, Factor. We've got a lot of HCD to shoot in here, and having lunch all sorted out like that, it really leaves us more time to do it. Something about me that comes up occasionally is that I don't actually eat mammals, which I understand. That's a weird way to carve up a human's diet, but that's me. That's what I do. Factor makes it really easy for me because they've got tasty meals that will cater to whatever dietary preferences you have on their menu every week, whether you're into keto, veganism, vegetarianism, you want to pack the protein, you're trying to go low-cal. They got you covered. And the other thing I love about Factor is that they're going to work with your schedule and your routine. You can set up a meal plan from between 4 and like 18 meals a week, and you can even skip a week if you want to. That's great. Anyway, Meredith, let's see if this how our lunch came out. This is fantastic, and I am starving. I'm hungry. Meredith's hungry. We got to eat. Why don't you go to factor75.com or click the link below or the one up here in the corner. You're going to use code HowToDrink50, get 50% off of your first Factor box, okay? Go do it. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring, and we're going to go back to the show now. I'm going to take a quick crack at the idea of elevating the Jager Bomb. I don't know if I'm going to succeed or not. It's just a fun idea. Let's see what I can do. We've got our Red Bull. We've got our Jagermeister, which of course is an herbal liqueur. People have corrected me because I've said, you know, Jagermeister is kind of like legalized absinthe or sweetened legal absinthe. No, it's an herbal liqueur. Yeah, it's an herbal liqueur that has a lot of the flavor of anise in it. No doubt there's other stuff in there, but like that tastes like sweetened absinthe. We got our Red Bull, we've got our Jager. Red Bull is very sweet. Jager is very sweet. I think we want to do something here that'll knock the sweetness down a little bit. I'm going to mix this drink. One thing that's missing here is I would like there to be a little citrus. There's really no reason for this to not have citrus in it. I happen to have lemons within reach. Let's go with lemon. Let's just say 1 ounce of lemon juice, right? There we go. I'd like to figure out a way to get a little more character in there. Let's start with 3/4 of an ounce of Jagermeister. It was actually a bit more than 3/4, not quite an ounce though. Not bad. I want to get some other character in here. Maybe it's chartreuse. Oh yeah. 1/4 ounce of Fernet. Am I still getting the Jager? Yes, I am, but I want a little bit more. So we went 3/4 of an ounce before. Let's put the other 1/4 in. We'll make it a full ounce. There we go. Maybe what I should have done is a little less Fernet. Maybe that should have been like 2 bar spoons or something. Same difference here, though, more or less. We're changing our relationship basically to the lemon, but the lemon is plenty represented. We're not worried about that. I'm going to stir this with ice. Probably could have shaken that, actually. I was going to do this as a highball, but I appear to be out of ice spears. So let's just do something insane. I haven't had a chance to use this guy yet. This is not a place to make your ice. This is a place to shape your ice. And that's what it does. You get your big block of ice and you melt it against this giant aluminum heat sink. There we go. I gotta say, that is beautiful, right? That is a beautiful thing. Let's place it into my glass. Strain that right over it. Absolutely absurd. Zero reason for that to be in there. And then top it up with beautiful Red Bull. Maybe not top it up, maybe just double its volume. Lovely. What would you garnish that with? I don't know. Molly, I suppose. Honestly, some mint probably would be the answer, really. So let's see how my elevated, just a slightly modified Red Bull and vodka, or Red Bull and Jager goes. It's got a little more character. It is still predominantly Red Bull. The lemon is nice there. It helps it just read as a little bit less sweet. There's a little bit more character from the Fernet. I think that probably my relationship between Fernet and Jager itself are probably off a little bit. I'd like to have a little bit more representation of both of those. They're definitely correct and true to like the shot you would drop into a Red Bull typically. We're gonna put in another 1/4 ounce of our Fernet and honestly another 3/4 of an ounce of Jager. Pour that in there. Look at that, the color shift was huge. Let's see how that is. Much better balance. Still pretty much awful. But you do get an evolution. You get this intermingling of Red Bull and Jager right up front. So you get those flavors. Red Bull to me tastes mostly of violet actually. And also with the anise kind of absinthe flavor of the Jagermeister. And then that goes through a period of volume coming down, and then it turns into just this very mildly bitter, severely attenuated Fernet. Because we got a lot of other stuff going on in there. Not bad, not bad. I think it's fun to take something like a Jager bomb and improve upon it. There might be a whole episode in that kind of a thing. I do know the real fix for this. It tastes like bubblegum right now. It's 10 dashes of Angostura bitters. Because boy howdy, is that what this drink needs. It's blessed now. Try it out. It actually is interesting. It does taste a little bit like a hippie store where they sell soap, but not in the worst way.
The Red Bull really takes over.
Oh God, yeah.
It's not the worst thing I've ever had. Like,
absolutely not. Yeah, it's not the worst thing. Another caffeinated cocktail today on How to Drink.
If I went somewhere and they're like, we've made an elevated Jager bomb, and I thought that was funny, and that came out, I'd be like, I mean, it's what it is.
All right, well, I made 2. Let's move it right along. Right after this. I'm feeling buzzed up. All right, so this next drink is going to involve matcha. Matcha is, I don't actually know really how it's made, but it's tea. It is tea leaves that have been dried and then made into a powder. Tea is relatively caffeinated to begin with when it's just like steeped in water, but with matcha, you are drinking the whole tea leaf. That's pretty caffeinated stuff. I've done a few drinks that have matcha in them on my own show. They've just kind of wound up having matcha in them for various reasons. I thought about inventing my own matcha drink here, but I did a little research on it and I was like, you know what? There's a lot of really cool matcha drinks out there that sound awesome. I just want to try them. And so let's pick one that sounds really interesting to me. This is called The First Lady by Grant Wheeler. It looks like Leandro over at Educated Barfly also did either a blog post or a video on this. I'm not really sure, but I wanted to try it. It sounds really good. So we're going to shake this drink. We're going to do a 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. We're going to do 1/2 ounce of simple. 1/2 ounce of Cointreau, which is going to provide a very different flavor from the dry curacao that I tend to use. It's a lot more tart, a little less sweet. And I'm going to use my big old handle of Tanqueray. I feel like handles are something we don't usually see on the show, but they exist. They're valid. 1.5 ounces of Tanqueray from the handle. Next, we're going to need a teaspoon or thereabouts of matcha. I have this green tea powder, universal quality. I don't think that's a particularly high quality, but it's a cocktail, so I don't think it matters in this case. A lot of matcha. 1 basil leaf. I don't know how big a basil leaf I'm supposed to use. We're going to use this basil leaf. I fucking love basil. Oh, God, I love basil. Now I'm going to eat pizza for dinner. Add all ingredients plus an egg white. I have an egg white here. Okay, it's the basil and matcha that smell a little weird. I was like, ooh, what does that smell? That's a weird smell to come out of an egg. Yes, basil would be a weird smell to come out of an egg. Dry shake, add some ice, shake it again, and pour it up. Ah, the dreaded dry shake disaster. You gotta be careful when you're dry shaking because what happens is When you have ice in the shaker, it gets colder inside. Air condenses when it's cold. It forms a seal. Without ice, that doesn't happen. And actually, if anything, the ingredients you have start to take up less space. The egg unknits, which probably to some minute degree increases the air pressure inside of here, and it just wants to leak. So really get a good seal. I screwed it up today. Okay, that's our dry shake. Looking freaking great. Get a big cube. It says don't break it, don't do anything. And to that I say, you are the boss, Grant Wheeler. This is probably the glass to use. A little tiny guy. He's just a little guy. He's just a little guy. He's just a little guy. Hey, boy. Yeah. That was the right choice in glassware. Very happy with the way that looks. Little garnish. 1 grocery store basil leaf, maybe 2, I don't know. I'm gonna put it right there on the surface. There you go. And here we have the First Lady. This is a drink that is beautiful and will hopefully wash out of my mouth the taste of that horrible Red Bull. That's a delight. I'm gonna have to take a minute with this one. This is really cool. Okay. The lemon, the sweetness, and the matcha, they work together in a very cool way where you get this very nice tension between sour, sweet, and it is technically bitter, but it's a very mild bitterness, a dry bitterness. Love that. That is a great component of this drink. It brings out these floral notes from the gin. All throughout it, you've got this essence of basil, this nose of basil. Would not ever think to put basil in this drink if I were developing it. Kind of an inspired move. If I wanted to add another component to something without basil, I think I probably would have reached for rosemary if I wanted to add that herbal element, but something else would probably overpower the drink. But the basil it takes a little bit of a backseat. It provides just another element to this. I mean, you know what basil tastes like. It's hard for me to describe it. I would say that the volume is turned way down on it. The one thing that's a bit funny about it is that there's an egg white in it, which I want because it really provides this beautiful head. This drink wants that white head, right? Usually with an egg white, you get a very specific texture and mouthfeel. Because of the matcha here, which has this drying, almost gritty vibe, you don't get that. I still think that the egg white is a good choice. It's just that it doesn't really do what an egg white typically does in a drink. Anyway, cool drink. Meredith, why don't you tell me what you think of this?
I like a drink with texture.
Yes.
And it's like sandy makes it sound gross, but
No. It's got a little grit to it in a pleasant way. Yeah, you can chew on it.
Oh,
take that to your council, to your station. Meredith's taking that one. She likes it too much.
These are the moments on the show where you get to try something truly like special that you're not gonna see on a lot of like menus, and you should see more of this stuff on menus, but I understand it's expensive to have matcha and crazy ingredients.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. It's a cool drink. It's a very cool drink. I think matcha is one of the most fun ingredients to use in cocktails. I reach for it somewhat frequently now, but boy, do I love what it does to a cocktail. It's really cool. First off, it turns it green. There's so few ways to make a drink green that aren't hyper sweet. So let's move on to the Earl Grey Martini. This is a drink I've made on the show before, but I really love it. It is caffeinated because it's got Earl Grey tea in it. It was made by Audrey Saunders. She had a bar in New York City called Pegu Club for years. It was one of my top 3. I went there more often than any other of my favorite bars in the city. Let's put it that way. I did get into a really kind of a hairy situation in Pegu Club.
That's the place where you
became
the guy.
Some of that might make it into the edit. All right, let's finally make this drink, this Audrey Saunders drink, the Earl Grey Martini. I wanted to do something with black tea. I thought about Philadelphia Fish House Punch, right? The two that off the top of my head, Earl Grey Martini, Philadelphia Fish House Punch. Both call for tea. I like Earl Grey, though. I'm an Earl Grey guy. I thought about inventing something. It's really tough to beat an Earl Grey Martini from Audrey Saunders. And it looks like my Earl Grey gin is just about ready. She calls for doing a 750 of London Dry gin with 4 teaspoons of loose leaf Earl Grey tea and letting it sit for about 2 hours. That is what that is. That's London Dry. That is Tanqueray, some Earl Grey tea, and some thyme. Why is it in an Erlenmeyer flask? Because I bought one for a recent episode and it was the vessel that was at hand. It also has a nice neck that I could get some tea into easily. They're handy things to have. So let's go with this drink. We're gonna need our shaker. So I've chosen this glass for this drink. It is enormous. I'll probably make it a double. So what I'm saying out loud is for a single, but what you're gonna see me pour is a double. The directions on screen will also be for a single. We're gonna start with an ounce of simple syrup. I want 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. Again, I'm making a double, so I want 1.5 ounces of lemon juice because math. This is our infused Earl Grey gin. 1.5 ounces is for the drink. And yes, there's some leaves in there. You should strain this before you use it, but I am gonna pour this cocktail out of a shaker through a strainer, so it should be fine. And an egg white. Bloop. Some people ask me like, Greg, why don't you do THC infused cocktails on the show and stuff? And it's like, how would I do?
The end of your day.
I know, like I would be fucked
There'd be some fun
up.
after parties.
Dry
probably,
shake.
But...
By the way, obviously I'm shaking it with ice, in case you missed me saying that. I don't know that I did. I'll let that sit while I pull a lemon peel. Okay, here we go. And a double is right. In fairness, this is a glass for somebody who wants a great big glass of martini. All right, we're gonna do a lemon twist. So this is Audrey Saunders' Earl Grey Martini. I'm a huge fan of this drink. I think if I'm not mistaken, I read or heard that she invented it because at the time, so many cocktails were about vodka and she wanted to get people back to gin and she thought this would be a really accessible way to make that possible for people. That drink is a showstopper. Absolutely phenomenal. Doubly so if you happen to be a fan of Earl Grey tea. Earl Grey tea is a black tea that has a few other flavors included, but the main one is oil of bergamot. I'm not actually sure if there's anything else in there. Lady Grey has some other stuff. So you get this bergamot, sweet marmalade-y orange because we've added sugar to it. It's like marmalade. It's like drinking marmalade. I love it. Makes me feel like Paddington Bear. This drink is delicious. It is on the slightly sweeter side, okay? It's a very accessible drink. I would say it would be harmed immeasurably by trying to de-sweeten it. It doesn't want to be de-sweetened. Again, people generally like to drink their tea, particularly an English style tea, with a little sweetness in it. It has this great silky texture from the egg whites. It has this perfect balance of sweetness and tartness. It has all of these wonderful Earl Grey orangey notes. It's like drinking a glass of alcoholic marmalade. I love it. Give it a sip, Meredith. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I didn't get to try it last time.
Oh, for real?
It was a COVID episode.
Oh.
So I wasn't here.
Oh.
That's a hell of a drink.
So the next drink I want to make is called a Chiapparoni. Now, it's a drink that I invented. I haven't made it since I invented it. We did an episode a long time ago about like Mr. Black in cocktails. Mr. Black Old Fashioned was in there. We thought about doing that for this one. You can check out that episode if you want it. I'm a huge fan of Mr. Black. We knew Mr. Black had to get into this episode somewhere. Anyway, Chiapparoni, I made it a long time ago. It takes its name from being, I don't know, I guess like aroni is like a good suffix for a cocktail. But the coffee that I usually like to drink is this Chiapas that I get from my local roaster. People always ask me, Greg, what coffee? People don't always ask. People sometimes ask me, Greg, what coffee do you drink? And I'm say, it comes in a paper bag. You know, like it's not something you can go to the grocery store and buy, honestly. But boy, do I like it. I like it a lot. I drink a gallon of it a day. Okay, so let's make the Chiapparoni. Let's do it now. I'm gonna build it in a mixing glass, it says. It's funny to me, like I love doing this because this is a drink I invented and I haven't made it since I invented it. And it's always fun to go back to something that I know I loved, that I made, and see is it still good. So I wanna build this in my mixing glass. This is gonna be 1 ounce of Mr. Black. 1 ounce of Reposado tequila, and this is correct. I know for certain that the last time we did it was with La Gratona. 3/4 of an ounce of Amaro Angostura. Amaro de Angostura, I don't see this around much. It's one of my favorite Amaros. It's so good because it's Angostura-like. 2 dashes of Angostura's Coca bitters. These are great bitters. if you can get them. They're a little bit different from Bittermann's Chocolatille chocolate bitters. Bittermann's is a little bit different. They're a little bit spicier. These are a little more chocolatey to my palate, and you know what these are really good on? Vanilla ice cream. Get yourself some vanilla ice cream, flood it with this, and have your mind fucking blown. I'm telling you, this is unbelievable on vanilla ice cream. We're gonna stir this over ice. It says I'm supposed to put this in a coupe and garnish it with an orange. I want to put it in this over an ice cube.
It's your drink, Greg. Do what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
I like this glass a lot.
There you go. There is my Chiapparoni. That, now I know why I called it Chiapparoni, because it has a kind of, it's approaching the bitterness of a Negroni. Not at all as bitter as a Negroni, but it does approach that kind of bitterness. This has a very strong coffee that works with the tequila to come in a little bit smoky without ever actually having to use a mezcal or something that is, you know, typically smoky. It's got some char to it. I really like the way this comes together. I forgot about how much I like this drink. There is a part of me that wonders about it being slightly sweeter, like an old-fashioned. Bar spoon, 2 bar spoons is simple. I might try that in a second. What a great drink this is. You get so much character and evolution, and all of it is in that, it's got a real kind of thing going on to it. It's an angry kind of drink. Not angry, it's an animal. It's a beast, you know? You let this thing take you, it's not gonna let you go. It's like dark chocolate. That's what it is. The coffee and the cocoa bitters and the Angostura Amaro and the tequila all work together to present like a very dark chocolate. So if you wanted to, I think you could sweeten that up to taste, and it would be a totally viable cocktail. Meredith, try it as is. I don't think you were around when we did this one either.
I don't think so.
I think I invented this in the solo days.
I prefer that to an espresso martini,
Oh,
personally.
interesting. Okay, yeah, a little less sweet, sure.
Less sweet, a little more bitter, a little more of a sipper, a little more of a thinker.
Let's see if we can make it into
Ooh, and then really late you get that Amaro.
Yes.
Yeah, that's nice.
Let's just see what a little extra sweetness does in there. Just throwing a little extra sweetness in there, see if that changes this drink significantly so. I don't mind that. I think that helps it. It tastes more like coffee in some ways, less like chocolate. What you want is what you get. Chiapparoni. I'm not gonna lie, we put this kettle here because I was gonna do an Irish coffee. I've done Irish coffee on the show a few times. No, I cannot. I am tippled up. I'm drunk. I'm a little too drunk to do another drink right now. So if you want to do an Irish coffee, here's a link. There's a link. I made an episode on it. I made a couple of episodes on it. Check it out. Irish coffee. It's got a whole history all its own. I like the 2 bar spoons of simple in it. As I've gotten older, my tooths have gotten sweeter. Why don't you try?
I tried it.
No, it's a little sweetened up now.
Oh, now it's sweetened up.
Just a little bit.
I like it less sweet.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the show, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. We did a bunch of, like 5, I think, caffeinated cocktails today. For now, I'm on Twitter, Twitch, Patreon. That's a very good one. I guess I'm on Instagram. And you can follow those places below me. Oh my God, you know what we forgot to talk about?
What?
The podcast.
Ah, the podcast.
Meredith and I have a podcast. It's called Midnight Local. And if you want me to keep living, you should click on the link to it and subscribe and listen to every episode 5 or 6 times. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad. Just don't tell my mom and dad. It's a show about movies and late night conversations and sitting around the electric glow of the cathode tube at the middle of night. Anyway, that's the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time on another episode of HTD. Zip.